So it looks like we're at the top of the hour. We'll go ahead and get things kicked off. I think there are still some people that are joining as we get started here. As a note of housekeeping, a couple of quick things. One is we are recording this session this afternoon. If you do have any questions, feel free to pose those in the chat feature or in the Q&A. Either one, we'll be monitoring that during the webinar this afternoon and happy to respond as we take a break. My name's Scott Anton with Gideon Tailor. I'd like to thank everyone for joining this afternoon. We're excited to be talking about our topic this afternoon, reimagining a modern dynamic PeopleSoft experience. This is part of our PeopleSoft Master Series. We've been hosting these webinars periodically over the course of the last year and a half, ranging on topics from GTE Forms, something that is very near and dear to our heart, to a wide variety of different delivered PeopleSoft tools, whether those are guided self-service for HCM, self-service, or drop zones, page and field configurator, event mapping, the PeopleSoft Forms Builder, a whole host of different things to help folks envision and understand what you can do with your PeopleSoft system. This is probably our most forward-reaching one because it provides some really exciting opportunities for folks to explore what PeopleSoft is capable of, both on its own, but then also when you complement it with some very powerful bolt-ons. There's a lot that you can do to improve, enhance, and extend your PeopleSoft applications. So let's go ahead and get started. I manage business development with Gideon Tailor. So my primary responsibility is helping organizations get introduced to Gideon Tailor and GTE Forms and what GTE Forms can do for PeopleSoft systems. On the line with us as well, my co-hosts this afternoon, Ann Jennings and Chris Fletcher from InFlight. They're going to be picking up the ball from me about halfway through this session and talking about InFlight and the solutions that they offer, namely the new GTE Forms Modernizer that we just introduced this year. Ann, would you like to say hi?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Thanks. So we're excited to have both Ann and Chris join us. Gideon Tailor has been a partner with InFlight Corporation for a number of years. And just within the last couple of months, we've introduced the GTE Forms Modernizer that InFlight has designed to help modernize, enhance, and extend the experience within PeopleSoft-based GTE Forms. So Ann and Chris will be talking a bit about that, showing you an example of it. And we're excited to be formally rolling this out as part of this webinar this afternoon. So a little bit of introduction about Gideon Tailor. I know that there are a number of folks on the call today that are Gideon Tailor clients and using GTE Forms and are probably excited to see what InFlight has to offer as part of that GTE Forms family of solutions. We've been working with PeopleSoft for a long time. We got our start back in 2001 as a PeopleSoft consultancy, helping organizations implement, upgrade, and optimize their PeopleSoft systems, and created our first version of GTE Forms, which we'll be talking about a little bit this afternoon, in 2003. And our focus has really evolved to help organizations drive greater value, greater efficiency out of their PeopleSoft systems, helping them do more with the systems that they've invested in. And there are a lot of our clients that have been using PeopleSoft literally for decades. And what they've been able to bring to the table with GTE Forms as a powerful, dynamic, fluid bolt-on has allowed them to tremendously increase the performance and capability of their PeopleSoft systems. So our mission today is to help organizations revolutionize business processes. And we do that through a variety of ways: innovative automation strategies that we're going to be talking about this afternoon, integration and custom development expertise, and electronic forms technology. And our vision is to help our clients work simply, effectively, efficiently, and flexibly. There are a couple of logos on this slide that I'll call attention to. We are a longtime Oracle partner. And GTE Forms is the only forms tool that we're aware of that is Oracle certified through the Oracle Validated Integration Program for PeopleSoft. So I mentioned a lot of what we do is helping organizations generate greater value, greater efficiency, greater productivity within their PeopleSoft applications. And we do that a lot through GTE Forms, but there are also a lot of other tools available within the PeopleSoft suite that we also specialize in. So if you guys ever have any questions about any of these things, we're always happy to jump on the line, talk through strategies with you, help you understand what tools can and cannot do, and help you get to the next level in terms of custom PeopleSoft automation. So that includes activity guides and guided self-service, page and field configurator, questionnaire and acknowledgement frameworks, drop zones, the PeopleSoft Forms and Approval Builder, and obviously custom fluid development with the approval framework. So what is modernizing PeopleSoft? That has a lot of different meanings for a lot of different people. For us, it encompasses a whole range of things that help to propel PeopleSoft forward, make it easier to use, make it faster, make it better, make it more user-friendly. So number one, extending functionality, allowing you to do more with your PeopleSoft system than maybe what Oracle delivers, and allowing it to reach more users, automate more business processes, to expand the reach of your PeopleSoft applications. Eliminate customizations. That's also part of that modernization equation. Helping organizations eliminate modifications to delivered software and streamline their opportunity for applying PUM updates, executing maintenance, and just the overall support of their systems. Redefining the user experience. That's a lot of what we're going to be talking about this afternoon, and particularly when Anne gets on the line, showing you what can be done in terms of deploying a dynamic, interactive user interface and creating custom branding and custom theming so your users experience an entirely different PeopleSoft than what you might typically be used to. And then finally, outsourcing hosting, maintenance, and support. There's been a big movement underway, obviously, promoted by Oracle and by others, to get systems into the cloud, offload that ongoing maintenance and infrastructure support from organizations, and push that up into hosted applications and hosted infrastructure. So there are a lot of things that you can be considering as part of your PeopleSoft lifecycle, where you go next. And we all know that there's a long runway left for PeopleSoft. There's at least 10 years worth of active support that Oracle will be providing. So you certainly have a fair amount of time to explore opportunities to enhance and extend and expand your PeopleSoft applications. So why modernize PeopleSoft? Number one, from our perspective, is saving money. There are a lot of things that you can do in terms of alternatives to PeopleSoft, and there are certainly organizations that are moving that direction, moving to different SaaS ERP solutions, software as a service. We believe that there's a strong case to be made for staying with PeopleSoft and doing more with the applications that you guys have invested a fair amount of time and money in. Being able to extend PeopleSoft and enhance it incrementally, as opposed to literally spending millions of dollars on a new ERP solution, can make a lot of sense. Reduce maintenance. That goes along with the decustomization effort that we talked about. We've helped organizations remove customizations from their systems and reduce the overall maintenance uplift that's required every time they want to apply a new PeopleTools update or a PUM image. A lot can be said if you can remove the modifications that you've made to the system over the years. Enhance performance. There are a lot of ways that you can streamline your PeopleSoft systems, and part of that is eliminating those modifications and enhancing how your PeopleSoft system performs. Increasing flexibility. We talk about that with regards to enhancing applications, creating new applications, and changing the way that your users experience those applications. There are a lot of great ways that you can update your PeopleSoft systems to make them less complex, make them less cumbersome, and streamline that user experience so that they can be doing more with less effort and less thought. Expanding functionality, allowing you to do more with PeopleSoft again than what you might be doing right now or that you might have been envisioning. Improving usability, Again, InFlight's going to be talking about that quite a bit in the latter part of our session this afternoon, and then ensuring accessibility. That's been a big question for clients of ours, particularly over the last couple of years, coming to the forefront, making sure that those applications that you're deploying are accessible to users in any way, shape, or form, making sure that they're readable, making sure that, that they're responsive. So these bottom four are the things that we're going to be spending most of our time on this afternoon: increasing flexibility, expanding functionality within your PeopleSoft applications, improving usability, and ensuring accessibility for all users. I'm going to show you a little bit about GTE Forms. There are a number of folks on the call this afternoon that use GTE Forms, so this will be commonplace for them. But just as a quick introduction, GTE Forms is a bolt-on. It's all people tools based, and it allows for organizations to create their own custom workflow-enabled fluid self-service solutions. From Oracle's perspective, we've got a really strong relationship with the Oracle People Tools team. They see this very accurately as bridging that gap between the PeopleSoft Forms and Approval Builder, which provides some basic functionality for automating simple requests, simple self-service actions, and going all the way to custom fluid development, getting in there, learning the fluid UI and doing custom development, incorporating the approval framework or AWE into those to drive workflow-enabled actions. On the configuration side, GTE Forms provides a wealth of features. So it truly empowers business analysts to be creating these powerful, dynamic, interactive fluid applications, including pre-population and dynamic data defaulting, conditional field, segment, and page behavior. So you can define the logic in terms of how these forms respond, what fields, segments, or pages display to certain users under what conditions. Restricting prompt values so that you're not showing users a whole range of values that may not even be applicable to the action that they're taking or the choice that they're selecting, but narrowing that down to just those that are relevant for the department that they're in, for the action that they're executing. Conditional routing, being able to route to the right approvers under the right conditions at the right time. Being able to incorporate instructional text within the structure of your form. So being able to put instructional text on every page, within every segment, in between fields, wherever users might need additional guidance to understand what this form is doing and how they might need to complete it. Also being able to incorporate graphics, hyperlinks, attachment management, as well as integration with third-party document storage systems, whether those are some of the more common are OnBase and Perceptive Content. Email templates and notifications are also configuration-based. Multi-language support was built into the tool this past year. BI Publisher support, so you can automatically generate attractive printable templates of the forms that you're creating. Email-based approvals, grids, being able to define user access, who can use your forms, who can access those and where, and then also analytics, and fluid. Now, one of the most exciting things about GTE Forms is that it automatically generates custom fluid applications on the fly without having to worry about custom fluid development. On the People Tools extensions side, it is also designed with dozens of people code hooks built into it to allow for custom development to any extent. So you can create and complement your custom PeopleSoft applications within GTE Forms to any extent you might need. That includes component interfaces, so the forms can automatically update PeopleSoft once they're done, custom page development, being able to access form data from PeopleSoft queries, third-party integrations we talked about, spreadsheet-based mass uploads, external workflow participants, enabling organizations or individuals outside the organization to interact with workflow-enabled eForms, and then finally extended data analytics. So really anything that you would want or need as part of a custom self-service application. Some of the things that our clients have been doing, particularly over the past year, with unique innovations leveraging GTE Forms, case management, whether that is disciplinary case management for students or for employees or other scenarios, course and curriculum management on the campus solutions side, enabling expense requests and reimbursements, External self-service for suppliers, constituents, parents. Security access requests has been a big one, and that spans HCM, financials, as well as campus solutions. Doing performance reviews for employees, auto-scored surveys and questionnaires, onboarding and offboarding solutions, as well as refund requests. Almost all of those are examples of solutions that have been deployed by many of these clients represented on the slide. And this just gives you a quick idea of how some of these organizations are taking advantage of GTE Forms to really accelerate what they're doing with PeopleSoft. Wakefern Food Corporation was actually our very first client in 2003 on GTE Forms. And over the years, they have created dozens of custom electronic forms for manager and employee self-service. Today, we're working with them on implementing PeopleSoft onboarding, as well as total rewards and a number of HR-related initiatives. As part of that, they've actually gone through a fairly extensive PeopleSoft modernization effort and have streamlined their PeopleSoft applications through GTE Forms, as well as other delivered tools with event mapping, page and field configurator, and others. University of California, Berkeley was awarded a PeopleSoft Innovator Award at the Oracle Open World Conference in 2019, specifically because of the work that they've done to dramatically and radically extend the self-service capabilities to students and faculty throughout the campus. So they have created dozens of eForms over the last few years. Hennepin County is working on finishing up a project that will serve new populations outside of the county's employee base. They're rolling out resident self-service to allow for citizens of the county to do business online with the county, integrated with their PeopleSoft system. So using GTE Forms outward facing from a public portal, citizens will be able to go online and do new vehicle registrations, tab renewals, and different DNR registrations. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of really cool, exciting things that you can do with external facing eForms. And then finally, Princeton University has also been a real innovator on the campus solutions side, again, creating literally dozens of eForms over the last couple of years to automate a wide range of actions. They created 16 new eForms in a span of just 90 days leading up to the pandemic. And once their campus went into lockdown, they were able to create a couple of new eForms literally within a matter of hours to allow for students to respond to the pandemic. These are just some quick screenshots of what eForms can look like. This happens to be an acknowledgement form as part of an onboarding solution. This is a form that one of our higher education clients uses for enabling faculty members to submit new course requests, as well as update existing courses. This is an example of GT Analytics. It provides a powerful bird's eye view of eForms activity throughout the enterprise, allowing you to drill down by any number of different characteristics and down to the individual form level, making up those data sets. This is another Campus Solutions eForm that was created recently. This allows for incoming students to evaluate the university based on a number of different criteria. What went into their selection process when they chose the university? And this is an example of a relatively simple security access request form. It's a fairly standard look and feel for a Fluid eForm. All right, I'm going to go ahead and show you an actual example of an eForm. And I see that we've got a couple of questions. Please share the recording. Yes, absolutely. We are recording, and anyone who is registered for the webinar will be getting a link to that. Is Total Rewards implementation by Wakefern, does it involve GTE Forms? That's a good question. I don't know the scope of that project. I don't know for sure if it involves eForms or not, but I'd be happy to research that further. I am going to pull up one of our PeopleSoft development environments. So we're going to go ahead and through this fluid tile navigation, I'm going to access a position authorization form. And this is a form, just a demonstration form that was created to allow for employees, managers, or department admins to request a new position. So this is just a general landing page. You can set this up however you want. This is the fluid navigation within our nav collection. We've got a number of different options here that we can select from if we have authority to do these tasks. We're going to start by adding a position authorization form. If we're allowed to do so, we can also take action on them, evaluating them, approving them. If we're a user that needs to make a change to a position authorization form that we have submitted, we can go in and update one that's already in the workflow process, essentially pull it back, make the changes, and resubmit. And if we just want to view one that is in process right now or one that's already been processed, we can look at a read-only version of the eForm that we submitted. But we're going to start by just launching a brand new one. We see some of the features that I talked about just a few slides ago. Number one being that nice rich text formatting, and we can put that anywhere throughout our form. Here we've got it at the top of the page. So we've got some title information, we've got some formatted text, we've got a logo here that we incorporated. We might have some hyperlinks to allow for the user to be taken elsewhere for additional information or for additional tasks. And then we'll go ahead and scroll down. We've got some information here that's pre-populated. I didn't have to do anything with that. That's built into the functionality of the form. We'll take a quick look at how that's done behind the scenes in just a minute, but it's populated with my ID, my name, Betty Lockerty, as well as my phone number. And I can go in and just start filling in the fields here as part of this request. This part is not particularly exciting because all we're doing is just filling out the fields. But as we go down, we're going to see some conditional behavior that changes how this form responds based on the information that I'm filling in. So I'm going to go ahead and skip down to the position action segment here. And as I click through these options, is this a replacement position? If I click yes, all of a sudden I'm showing some additional fields that I didn't see before. If I click changes to position, it's going to open up those fields that I'm allowed to change as part of this request. And I can go ahead and enter the values that I want to change this position to if this were an existing position. I'm not going to worry about that. If I click on part of strategic plan, I see all of a sudden this goal numbers field appears. One of the things that we try to adhere to when we're advising clients on how to design and develop forms is only show users information that's relevant to them and allow for the form to dynamically open up to them as they fill in additional information. So don't let the form assume that they need to fill in certain information. Let's actually get to that point, validate that, oh, well, okay, now that you've told me this in the form, now I need to prompt you for this additional information. You can also build in edits and validations as part of your process. Here, I've got an opportunity to enter some free-form text, and then I can format it however I want to describe how this particular position supports the institutional learning outcomes and objectives. I've got a grid down here that allows me to add multiple rows to distribute the funding for this particular position across multiple accounts. And then finally, I can go ahead and upload attachments as part of this action. Everything that you see here is configuration based. There's nothing here that required a developer to get involved in designing my form, the general layout, the pre-population capabilities that I saw here, the dynamic conditional behavior. So being able to hide and display certain fields and certain segments under certain conditions, all of that is configuration based. So I can go ahead and once I've filled in this information, I can go ahead and hit submit. And then that will send this particular form along whatever approval path it might require. So here I see that this one is destined for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different approvers before it ultimately updates PeopleSoft once it's done. So I'm going to go ahead and take a quick look behind the scenes. let's see, actually, I'm going to open up another one of these before I navigate to the GTE Forms tool. So I'm going to go ahead and navigate to Manage GTE Forms. Go into Form Setup. I'm going to find my position authorization form amidst all of the other forms that we've created. And that is right there. So this is a little bit behind the scenes in terms of what goes into making a configurable form like this. I've got a number of different tasks that are set up as part of the form that I've created, the position authorization form. The one that I was interacting with when I was initiating and submitting that form is the add task. I also have a task down here that the evaluators, the reviewers, the approvers are going to interact with. I've got that update task in case a user needs to go ahead and submit a form and then pull it back, make some changes or edits and resubmit it through workflow. And then finally that view task, which is going to be a read-only version of the form. One of the nice features that this allows for when you've got multiple tasks and those different kinds of interactions divided among multiple tasks is that you can truly define what that user experience is going to be when they're interacting with the form in those various stages or states. So I might want to fundamentally differentiate between the approver's experience with my form versus that of the initiator or the submitter. And I've got some nice tools here that allow me to copy down the setup from the add task down to create the evaluate task, so I don't have to worry about going in and setting all of that stuff up individually. I can copy everything down and just make the edits as I need to. If I go into this first page on my add task, that's the one that I was interacting with that gathered all that information about the new position that I was setting up. I'm going to go into, let's see, the first segment here. And go, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. First, I'm going to go in and go into the data tab and look at the data pool settings. This is where I can see the different records that my form is linked to within PeopleSoft to allow for that pre-population that we saw in the demo. So right now I've got two records associated with my form inside PeopleSoft. I've got the personal data record linked to it and the PS Opera Defin. The personal data link is pulling in that specific employee information. So the employee ID, the employee's name, as well as a couple of other aspects of that personal data. So that makes it really convenient. Again, all of this is configuration based, so I don't have to worry about pulling a developer in to allow for my form to pre-populate with that data because it recognizes who I am. I'm signed into the system, and it takes that information that allows for additional actions to occur based on that information. Another really cool feature is visual ifs, and that's what allows me to define that conditional behavior that I saw when certain fields were appearing based on the choices that I was selecting within my form. So if I go into this particular segment that is plan details, that's what it's labeled, and we saw that earlier on our form. That is right down here, planning details. When I had clicked on that part of strategic plan and clicked yes, that other field over here opened up for me. So this is where I can find that. I see that there's a visual if associated with the my goal numbers field. And if I open that up, I can see that the visual if is associated with how that field displays. So I'll click on the visual if. This again is all configuration based. So this particular action is, or this behavior is keyed off of the value of the what the user selects for whether or not this is part of the strategic plan. If they select yes for that particular field response, then that that goals field is going to display to the user the goal numbers field. So that is a visual lift. That is a very simple example of a visual lift. Those can be extremely complex depending on what your requirements might be. So those are a couple of behind the scenes details in terms of how I was able to achieve that pre-population as well as the conditional behavior. All of that stuff is built into the GTE Forms framework, again, inside PeopleSoft. I think that we've got a question. How do the GTE Forms address the following limitations in PeopleSoft Fluid Forms and Approval Builder? 15 character limitation on field labels, limitation on number of fields allowed for certain types, only 5 254 character text boxes, 10 data fields. That is a great question. And yes, that is one of the limitations that many folks encounter using delivered PeopleSoft Forms and Approval Builder is a limitation on the number of types of certain fields that you can incorporate into your forms. With GTE Forms, since this is independent of the PeopleSoft Forms and Approval Builder, we've designed it to allow for unlimited use of any field types within your form. So you don't face those limitations that you do with the delivered forms builder inside PeopleSoft. All right, I'm going to go ahead and flip back to the PowerPoint. And at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Anne to take that position authorization form that we just looked at one step further. Anne, it's all yours.
All right. Thank you so much, Scott. Okay. So I've got a few slides, and then like Scott said, I'm going to jump on into a demo. So InFlight is a user experience platform that works with the software you already have to transform your user's digital experience. Changing the way an organization works used to mean spending too much time and money on HCM upgrades, add-ons, and migrations. InFlight provides an alternative. We provide you total control over how your users engage with the systems by providing a consistent user experience, surface information into the flow of work, create personalized dashboards and content, and quickly deploy mobile optimized micro apps. So basically, we make your old applications work and look like new ones. So today, we're really going to focus on an enhancement we built with Gideon Tailor. If we could, do I have control over the screen, Scott?
You do, but I'm wondering, do you want me to stop sharing? Do you want to share your screen or do you want to control mine?
Controlling yours is fine for now until I get to the demo. You want to just progress at a slide?
Are you able to advance?
I do not see a way to, there we go. Perfect. Not sure if that was you or me, but we're in the right spot. So here are just some of the companies that are using InFlight today to completely transform their applications. As you can see, we've got a wide array of clients across many different industries. I'm going to move ahead, Scott. Excellent. So Gideon, Tailor, and InFlight have partnered together to offer a unique feature enhancement to your existing or new eForm implementation. We've designed automated custom theming for your GTE Form environment. So I'm going to hop into a demo next, but just to sort of set the stage, we know organizations invest heavily in their branding. And in many cases, those investments are just reflected outwardly. So I'm talking about things like your external websites, career sites, etc. We believe it's just as important to have that red carpet feel with your internal applications. So our solution brings that beautiful branded experience inside and adds additional personalization elements. So innovative applications and self-service tools will help your employees feel empowered, productive, and important. And so next, I'm going to jump on into our demo. So Scott, if you're able to stop sharing so I can load up my screen. Perfect. Scott, is that coming in well for you on your side?
Yep, it looks great.
Excellent. So we're going to continue with the position authorization request form. And that's what we were just looking at when Scott has his screen up. So I'm just going to quickly fill out some details of a new one. Same sort of action happening that we looked at previously with the position action forms. They are dynamic, and so you see them kind of updating as we toggle through the different options. So what I really wanted to get to is this page here, so I could grab the form ID up in the top right-hand corner. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up the same form in our InFlight themed environment so that we can take a look at what that automated themer could do to your eForms. All right, so here's our first look. This is a very basic page that I have up. It's just a lookup that we're going to use to pull up that form. But I kind of wanted to use this to set the stage. We've got a couple key elements that I want to highlight. So InFlight has built an automated enhancement that themes your GTE forms to match your corporate, campus, or unique branding. It's automated in the sense that all the pages under that theme will have the same theme or branding, but custom, as we would be updating your CSS to match the specific styles of your branded requirements. Multiple themes can exist within an environment and be displayed based on specific guidelines such as campus or role. So each time you see me change the different theme elements, that would be considered a different theme. So what do I mean when I say theme? I know I've used that word a lot. So I'm really talking about the background imagery we see here, the logo in the top left corner, the button styling we see in your top navigation on the right, as well as sort of our search lookup icon, the search at the bottom, the calendar, and then our fonts. So we're going to go ahead and switch to a different theme just to take a look at what the differences could be. Fair bit of similarities because they're both quite blue, heavy blue branded. Got a different bottom banner here. It's now gray. Obviously, the different imagery and logo. We'll do one more before we kind of continue on into the form. All right, so here we are on the form. There we go, perfect. So again, different branding, some different elements coming through. You see kind of the consistent experience that we see in the middle rather, with our GTE form, which is all of our content, but the different wrapper theme on the outside. Just taking a look at those position action fields again, so they still have that dynamic features and functionality, which was critical to designing the themer. So what was really important when we built the themer is that we were adding those beautiful branded elements and kind of elevating the style of the theme, but not removing any of the key functionality. So having the ability to still edit, update, and add new eForms, all within this themed wrapper. So we'll continue on through this. Take a look at another theme that we have built out here. This one's pretty distinct. We've got a black banner across the top that matches their corporate branding, as well as some new imagery on the background. So we'll go ahead and hit save on this one and get into kind of that last page, or submit rather. And now we're looking at that view approval routing. And here we have our last theme that we're going to take a look at on this form. One of my favorites, I just really like the different blue tones that are being used, and I love the image in the back. But before I hop into the next page that I'm going to take a look at, just to show some of the unique field functionality, are there any questions I can answer from anyone on the line? I don't see anything on the Q&A, but I will take a quick look on the chat. All right. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to pull up our other form that we're going to take a look at. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so this is a different form in the sense it was a custom form that was made just for purposes of this demo. I'm just going to toggle back to that previous themes there so you can take a look, and we can take a quick second to take a look at them. All right, so this was a custom form that was created for the proof of concept for the InFlight eForm themer. As you can kind of see, it really just contains placeholder text. We can see the field names at the bottom with distinctions on if it's a date field and it should sit on the left versus the right. We've got integer, it's just kind of cut off right at the bottom of my screen, but we'll take a look at that in a second. The goal of this form was to allow us to make sure the themer didn't have any negative impacts with the different fields and functionality, business logic that your eForm is going to hold. So I'd mentioned earlier that it was really important that we were hands off all of the benefits that the eForm offers. And this is kind of how we got there. So I'm going to show a couple different field types and sort of how it could look in this view. And we'll, again, toggle through a couple different themes as we go, just so you can kind of see the differences as we go through. The first piece of functionality I'm going to highlight is this highlights enabled up at the top. So I've just toggled that on. I think this is really neat. It's a very cool visual cue that your user could get if they update a field to have new content since their last save. And it highlights the field, so it shows the user that there is new content in that field. So let's take a look at it. We'll grab these integer fields here. And so I've just added 2 items onto the end, so the 1, 1 or 11, and now the field is highlighted. Do the same thing to the integer array. So turning on that highlights enable is basically used to show that those fields have been edited since the last save. One other thing I'll note, as you see when I navigate away from that field, the form update, so I'm changing the context and it updates, we have real-time field validation that's occurring on these fields. So we're knowing right away if there's any issues. For example, this pop-up right here. So this is an integer left field, and I've gone and I've added A and F into it. So because that's not allowed based on these field parameters from your GTE form, we're getting an error message. So we need to correct that. And because we have real-time field validation happening dynamically as we go through the form, it's giving me that feedback right away. So I don't have to worry about filling out my entire form, going to the bottom and hitting save, and then having several different error messages. I'm going to get them as I go so I can correct them and make sure my data is accurate. All right, we'll take a couple look at some different fields, and I think we're going to hop on down to attachments next. So just like you would in your eForms, you have the ability to upload files as attachments. So we're just kind of going through that right now. And if it is a form where you're maybe changing the attachments or it's something that you might be updating new ones, you're able to kind of download those and view them right away to make sure you've got the right attachment uploaded. We also added some visual cues to the status to indicate whether or not that attachment was uploaded correctly or if there was an issue. So you see that first one's got that red exclamation mark icon where the second has a check mark. So I do see a question that came through. So the themes can be by form. That's definitely something that's possible. We would typically recommend you go a bit wider than that. So maybe it's campus or all the forms within like a certain corporate area. But there's definitely lots of options to slice and dice the forms and the themes differently to show either, like I said, based on campus or corporate division or role.
And can I add a comment to that?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I love that idea. One of the things that has excited us the most about the GTE Forms Modernizer is that ability to segregate what that user experience is going to be based on what part of the organization those users happen to be in. So particularly if we're talking about like a multi-campus institution, a multi-campus university or a college system, you can have a different theme represented obviously for each one of the different campuses or colleges. So really exciting. You can design it to meet whatever the requirements are and the needs of that particular campus, that particular college. The other thing to keep in mind or to drive home on this is that once you've created a theme, all of the eForms that you create that theme can automatically be applied to it. Without having to redo or reapply that theme, it's automatically inherited by the eForm as part of the Modernizer solution. So, Anne, thank you very much. You can go ahead.
Perfect. All right, so I think we're just going to finish up on this form here. We're going to sort of acknowledge it, add some comments, and then go ahead and save. And then we'll take a look at the last theme that we've put together for this demo. So InFlight uses a universal cloud-based API that easily integrates with any web-based application on the fly. So in this case, your GTE Forms, rather than interfering with your system of record. So because we're hands off that application, there's no requirement for upgrades, development, or additional customization. So we really are focusing on continuing all those benefits that you have from your existing eForm installation. All of your customizations, business logic, security stack are preserved, so there's no need to redevelop or recertify anything. And our approach only uses web standard technology, so there's nothing proprietary. You're not locked in, and there's no sort of customized training required on how to interact with that InFlight themer. All right, and if you like what you've seen here, InFlight does lots more. I'd encourage you to take a look at our website. We have a suite of products geared towards improving productivity by changing how people work for talent acquisition, employees, students, and procurement. I think I have a couple pictures there, Scott, if you just want to kind of click through. But I've just included our website there at the top if anyone's interested. And of course, you can always reach out to Scott as well. We work very closely together. Awesome. Back to you, Scott.
Awesome. Those look great. There is a question in the queue that I wanted to make sure that we cover, and I'm going to do a phone a friend and call in one of our senior consultants, Lauren Escobar, on this one. If you have multiple records within PeopleSoft that you are wanting to get pre-populated fields from, is it best to just create a SQL view in PeopleSoft since there will be joins based on key fields in each of these records? Lauren, what are your thoughts?
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, so the answer here is that you can do that. It's not required by any means. There is some efficiency, obviously, to be gained by doing that. But if you don't have the available technical resources to create views for everything that you need, you can also just go through the data pool and join your records there. So you have options, and we can certainly always talk you through best design practices if you have further questions about it.
Great. Thank you, Lauren. Anything else that folks have questions on? I'll go ahead and flip through a couple more slides, but certainly let us know. You can either enter those in the Q&A or in the chat feature. If you are interested in finding out more about either the GTE Forms Modernizer and InFlight or GTE Forms as a tool, let us know. We are more than happy to dive deeper into any of the areas that we've talked about today or explore use cases that your organization might be considering or provide a quote on either solution. And Anne and Chris and I are all happy to hang out for the next 10 minutes or so. If there are questions that you guys have, we're more than happy to field those. And in the meantime, anybody who has to drop, I would like to thank you very much for joining the session this afternoon. We will be sending out links to the recording, so you can certainly go ahead and review it and share it with others. Can the field have a prompt? That's a question that was just posed in the Q&A. Absolutely. Yeah, you can have prompt fields throughout your form. If that's your question, Wendy, was there something more that you were wondering on that? Ah, very good. You're welcome, Wendy. Thank you. So it is exciting to think about what you can do with your PeopleSoft systems to significantly expand, extend, and elevate that user experience to not only do more with your PeopleSoft system, but also present it in a fundamentally different way based on your organization and the kinds of requirements that you might have for your users. A couple more questions have come in. Do our eForms need to be fluid to use InFlight? And I'll let you and Chris field that. Anne, are you there?
I am, and I'm just hopefully pinging Chris. Yes, so he said that it is best if the eForms are fluid to leverage InFlight. Awesome.
Thank you. And Megan's got a question. Is there a quick way to resize an editable text field's width? In GTE Forms, you can certainly make fields span multiple columns So you do have that flexibility within the GTE Forms tool. Beyond that, with regards to what the Modernizer can enable, and I'll let you and Chris respond to that.
Well, I would say, hey, this is Chris, and I would say if you wanted that, then the answer is generally yes. But what we're doing automatically out of the gates is just following along with exactly what you select inside of the GTE forms. But InFlight can also make exceptions for certain fields and allow for specific things, such just by even with just CSS. So there's all kinds of options as part of your theme that could help with that sort of thing.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I think the key to your question, Megan, is there a quick way? It can definitely be done. As Chris alluded to, there are ways that that can be done technically. As I mentioned, that there is an obvious way that that can be done functionally within the configuration of your eForms. But certainly, because it is a people tools-based solution, the GTE Forms tool, it accommodates really anything that you would want to do if you're considering development.
Scott, there was another question in the chat that I believe is geared towards you and the GTE Forms.
I was trying to access chat, and for some reason I can't find.
I can read it out if that helps.
That would be great. I appreciate that.
Yeah. It says, can the form generate notification emails when a form has been entered? Example, HR keys in a request, and the employee and manager both get an email with the information from the submission.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the nice things about GTE Forms is that you can define how notifications are set up and how they're triggered for any kind of event. So you can have email notifications not only going out to the submitter as well as maybe the next approver in line, but you can also have email notifications going out to folks outside of that approval path that might just need to be made aware that that particular action is being requested or that form has been submitted, and they may not even be involved in the approval process. They just need to be made aware. And then another aspect of email notifications is that you can incorporate form data within the email itself. So you can have actual actionable data within the email notification that the user, that the evaluator or the approver receives. And then finally, we also just introduced email-based approvals with a project that we've been working on in the last few months. So if you are interested in exploring the possibility of enabling your users to go ahead and choose approve or deny just by clicking a button within an email, which makes it all that much easier, we'd be happy to talk with you about how that works. So that's all delivered as part of the GTE Forms tool.
So this is Chris. I wanted to jump back to a question I thought I saw that asked if eForms needed to be fluid to use InFlight. And it specifically says eForms, but just wanted to point out that InFlight is a product that allows you to customize any of the PeopleSoft delivered type pages, but it's outside of the automated solution that we're just presenting today. So if we wanted to do something that was outside of that, it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'm glad that you revisited that, Chris, because yeah, one of the things that we didn't really talk much about is the fact that you can apply InFlight's solutions to any of your PeopleSoft applications and pages. So even though here we focused on the GTE Forms Modernizer, you can take that same concept, that same tool essentially, and apply that to modernizing and completely refacing other PeopleSoft applications and pages. There's another question in the queue. Melissa asks, I saw that there are templates available for GTE Forms that we can use. How do you access those templates? Great question. You can access a number of them through, you can download a number of them through the customer teams support site. And you can also navigate to the SharePoint portal that way. That'll allow you to review some of the different eForm templates that are available for download, as well as CIs and other eForm assets. If there are eForm templates that you're interested in exploring that may not be out there for download, certainly let us know. You can send us an email or log a support ticket, and we're happy to find where those templates might be accessible from and provide those to you, or talk with you about alternatives in terms of creating your own eForms based on whatever requirements you might have. Well, those have been some really good questions. And again, we appreciate everybody for joining this afternoon. It's been exciting for us to be able to introduce not only GTE Forms to folks that might not already be familiar with the software, but also the eForm Modernizer from InFlight, and show you just how far you can take your PeopleSoft systems. We're still happy to hang out for a couple more minutes here if there are any other questions that come in. And Ann and Chris, I would like to thank you two, particularly not only for your time this afternoon on the webinar, but also for the effort that InFlight has put into creating the Modernizer.
Of course. I think it's a great partnership.
One more question. Robin asks, just to be sure, you mentioned that the ability to approve from an email is available. Is that correct? Absolutely. And we're more than happy to talk with you about how you leverage that. If I don't know if your organization currently is using GTE Forms, Robin, but the email-based approvals, I believe I know that it's available. I don't know if it's actually been incorporated into a service pack yet. If it hasn't, that is happening imminently within the next couple of weeks, but it might already be out there. If it has not been released in the service pack, we can make it available to you as part of your framework.
And Scott, I believe that Service Pack 4 actually included all of the elements needed for email approvals.
Oh, fantastic. So that's already been launched?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Lauren. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Lauren, thank you very much for your participation. Ann and Chris, thank you both for your involvement this afternoon. And again, thank you to everyone for joining. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to myself, Scott at GideonTailor.com, or you can go ahead and access through our website, GideonTailor.com, or Ann Jennings at InFlight. And I think that your contact information.
Yeah, it's just up there on the top.
Okay. Sounds good. So everyone, thank you very much. Have a great rest of the week, and we hope to have you join us on future PeopleSoft Master Series webinars. Take care.